This lesson explains how to graph in Excel your data for the density lab. You're going to need to have open the Moodle page so you can access the class lab data, and then you're also going to need to have Excel open. So you need to be on a computer that has Microsoft Excel, like a school computer or if you have it at home. So you're going to need to, in Moodle, open your class period's lab data. I'm just going to choose period 3. And this is the spreadsheet where we imported it all. And you need to put this into Excel. So I'm going to highlight, so I click on Metal 1 and drag down, highlight all of the Metal 1 data. I'm going to copy this. I'm just hitting Control C, and then I go into Excel, click on the first cell that I want it to start in, and then I'm going to hit Paste or Control V. And I'm just going to drag to the side, so you can see when you go up to the line between cells, you get a little double arrow. I'm going to drag over so that I can read everything. Do the same for metal number 2. So I click on metal 2, and drag down, copy, go back to a cell, and I'm going to paste it there. And again, I'm going to drag over so I can read all the columns. Okay, so we now want to graph this. We're going to do everything in Excel from here. I want to graph metal number 1 data first, so I'm going to highlight just the data. I can't graph the words, so I'm going to highlight the numbers. And then on the top of Excel, you'll see tabs. I want to click the Insert tab. And I want a chart, but I want to make it a scatter plot. So it'll just plot the points. I'm going to add a line later, so just the dots. And it should look like something like this. You can move your graph around, and you'll see when your graph is highlighted. So when I've clicked on it, I get this little bubble around the outside. When I click off of it, that bubble goes away. So notice when I do have the graph selected, I get more choices up top on my menu bar. So I get chart tools. So I need to add in my graph a title and axes for my labels. So under layout, and there's the chart tools, chart title, you get 2 choices. I like the above chart because then it's not going to interfere with my data. So I click this, and now I can change this to whatever I want by highlighting it or deleting. And I'm going to title this densities of metal number 1 and metal number 2. Okay, so now I want to add axes labels so I can see axis titles. So my horizontal title, it only gives you 1 choice below the axis, so I'm going to click this. For my vertical title, you get 3 choices. I like the rotated title because this is typically how I would write it if I made a graph by hand. So again, I click in here. And for this case, if you look at your data table, in my X column I have volume, in my mass column, or in my Y column I have mass. So Y is going to be mass. You should always write units in grams. And my X is going to be volume. So now I've got title, axis labels. Now I'm actually going to put metal number 2 data in this same graph. So I need to have this say, instead of series 1, I need to have it say metal number 1. So I can right click on my graph. I always do it on a point. And I'm going to choose select data. So this shows me the data in my graph. And you can see series number 1 is the only one I have. And it highlights that in my data table to show what I'm graphing. If I click on that and hit edit, series name, I can change this to metal number 1. And you can see X and Y values are actually those spots in the spreadsheet. So if I click OK, it should change right away. So now I'm going to add metal number 2 data. So I'm going to click Add. And for series name, I'm going to call this metal number 2. For my X values, you could actually type in the cells, or you can do it the simpler way, and you can select the range with this little picture button. So I click this. And it's going to change, and then I'm going to highlight what I want this to be. So this is my X, which is volume. So I highlight the volumes, and then I click that again, go back, and then I do the same for Y. And you have to make sure that this doesn't show up. Usually when you click this, sometimes it gets highlighted. I got to delete that first. Then I'm going to highlight my mass, and then click that again. So if I click OK, and then click OK again, it should show up in my graph. Okay, and I'm going to make this, so I'm going to move it in a second. So I've got title, axes labels, my data for both metals. What I want now is I want to have a trend line. I want to have a line of best fit for each data because it looks like I have a line for metal 1 and a line for metal 2. So this will actually do it for you. If I right click again on the data, I can add a trend line. So you can have all sorts of trend lines, linear, polynomial, a power, like an exponent. We want a linear line. It looks like it's a straight line. So it's already selected, but I want to have my equation. So it's going to give you an equation for the line y equals mx plus b format. So I click this, and then you should see your equation shows up there. Okay, so I'm going to do the same for metal number 2. Right click, add trend line, linear, display equation. Okay, and I'm going to make my graph a little bigger so I can see this better. All right, so we've got our equations. Now, you've got y equals mx plus b. M is the slope. Now, slope is rise over run. Well, in this case, our rise is mass. So we have mass divided by our run, which is volume. Mass divided by volume equals density. So our slope, so 6.9776 right here, is the density, the class average for the density. And the same here for metal number 1. Okay. Last thing I want to do is you're going to have to print this data table and the graph and add it to your lab report. So I want to print this on one page. So I'm going to move this underneath my data table, and I want to make sure it fits. So when you have your graph selected like this, if you click print, it's going to just print your graph. So I make sure you've selected the spreadsheet. So now it'll print the whole page. And I want to check and make sure it fits. Two ways you can do this. One is you can add this little print preview to your toolbar up here. So in this little pull-down menu, it shows what you have on your toolbar. Or you can just go to File, Print, and it should show what you're printing. And this cut it off, so I know I have to make it a little smaller. So I go back, I hit Home, and you can see now I have a dotted line for the edge of my page. So I'm going to make this a little smaller. Don't forget to click back on the spreadsheet before you look at it again. So File, Print. So that I've got it all. That looks great. This would be where I'd print it or save it and add it, print it later whenever you're going to print your lab report.